Okay. Well, thank you for joining us this evening for the 2021 Garden City Commission Forum, hosted by the Garden City Area Chamber of Commerce and the Chamber Government Affairs Committee. My name is Andy Farmeyer. I'm going to serve as moderator for this evening's forum, and I am currently serving as a member of the board for the Chamber of Commerce. And with me is Micah Bunch, and she is the president of the Chamber of Commerce and will serve as our timekeeper tonight. Tonight we welcome the following candidates who are seeking re-election for the City Commission. We have Commissioner Manny Ortiz, Commissioner Deb Euler, and Commissioner Troy Unruh. Candidates, thank you for joining us tonight.
Thank you.
The process for tonight's forum will begin with each candidate providing a 1-minute opening statement, followed by question and answer sessions, and we'll conclude with a 1-minute closing statement. The order of the candidates' introductions were drawn at random, and the order for the opening statements and the order will be reversed for the closing statements. Each candidate will have 90 seconds to answer the questions during the question and answer session, and the order for those responses will rotate as we go through. Micah will be giving you a signal when you have 30 seconds left and another signal when your time has expired. So
they're not yes/no questions.
there will be no I don't believe there's going to be any yes.
You
or
can
no.
say yes
use
for
for
a
the-
minute.
Yeah.
Okay. I was just preparing myself.
Right, there you go.
This is a closed quorum forum. No rebuttal questions or answers will be permitted. So without delay, let's start tonight's program. So first up for opening statements will be Commissioner Unruh.
Nice. Ready? Well, almost 4 years ago, when I decided to run for the City Commission, I wanted to communicate to the residents in my campaign that I knew that they were important. I wanted them to know that their input was important and vital for Garden City to be successful. I was representing them, and it was their voice that people needed to hear. My campaign centered on the slogan, "This sign can't vote, your voice matters." And it became a way for me to let people know that I wouldn't forget who I serve. Over the past several years, we have had many incredible accomplishments and challenges. Some of the accomplishments that you have done together as a community with our many partners in Finney County, the County Commission, USD 457, Garden City Community College, and so many others, are several sales tax initiatives that have been completed. To date, 2 sales tax initiatives have been completed, Jenny Barker Road improvements, and next week there's going to be a ribbon cutting. And then also the improvements at Lee Richardson Zoo, which include the lemur and the flamingo exhibits, and many, many other improvements. Wow, that was a minute. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Commissioner Unruh. Next up will be Commissioner Ortiz.
Okay. Well, thank you all for joining in. My name is Manny Ortiz. I originally ran as city commissioner to actually get involved with, with the city. To this extent, I didn't know actually what I was getting into. There's a lot involved with the city as far as just the people that are involved, the citizens, the administration. They're just going on and on and on. So I look forward to actually just engaging myself more and more into that, helping people understand and engage in more opportunities to basically plug yourself in and get involved. Gathering the information. There's, like I said, there's lots and lots and lots of different pieces. So for me, I guess now going in deeper with the City Commission is try to elaborate more on that and communicate with the citizens, getting involved, plugging in, getting your thoughts out to us so that we could help you get those questions answered. Thanks.
Okay, thank you, Commissioner Ortiz.
Yep.
Last up will be Commissioner Euler.
Well, good evening. First of all, I'd like to thank the Chamber for hosting this forum. And I have proudly served Garden City as a commissioner for the past 2 years. And to say they've been an interesting 2 years would be an understatement. When I stop and think about all that we've accomplished and all that we've had to learn in that 2 years, with it being a pandemic, as Commissioner Ortiz and I were just new to the commission, it's like, oops, surprise, pandemic. And so we've learned really, like we like to say, drinking out of the fire hose. But I do still beam with pride for all of the things that we've managed to accomplish the last couple of years. Commissioner Unruh talked about a couple of them at the zoo. Jenny Barker Road, the opening of Garden Rapids at the big pool, getting ready, to do the municipal court and evidence facility, numerous RHIDs in the Southeast Community Park. I mean, that's just a few of the things that we've still managed to accomplish together, and moving the city forward and doing all of the things that we set out to do when we set our goals. And so for that, I'm very, very proud to be a part of this.
Okay. Well, thank you, candidates, for your opening statements. We're going to now move into the question and answer session. As I stated before, you'll each have 90 seconds to give a response to the question. The order of this was selected at random, and the first up will be Commissioner Euler. So our first question for tonight is, all of you are incumbents seeking re-election. What do you feel you've accomplished in your time as a commissioner?
Well, let me get back to my list here. No, I'm just kidding. I mean, first of all, learning the inner workings of the city have been just quite an interesting experience. I mean, there are just so many things that even when you sit in the audience and watch the commission and still read the packets, you still don't quite understand all that goes into it, all that pre-work and just everything that the staff does to get us to the point when we're voting on something. And so it's really been kind of an interesting opportunity to learn how that process goes, to learn how the commission works together as a whole. And so I've been really proud of the fact that we've been able to still do all of these things. When we have our goal-setting retreat, making sure that Garden City is remaining, is that regional hub, making sure that we're protecting air and highways and rail service, and making plans going forward, like with the airport expansion and some of the other things. I mean, I think learning how to do all of those things together has probably been one of my greatest sources of pride, and the fact that when you ask a question, I can sometimes even answer it. But 2 years has gone by really, really fast, and so I'm just proud of everything that we've been able to do up to this point.
Okay, thank you. Next up will be Commissioner Unruh.
So, there's lots of projects that we could talk about. I do want to talk a little bit about one of my favorite projects, and something that was near and dear to my heart, is Garden Rapids, the big pool. And it's not so much the facility, but it's the process that we went through to really create the facility. And it was the biggest community input endeavor that we have ever had. And so I love the way that the community came together to create something that's incredible and really a big memory for all of us. One of the things that's kind of hidden that I think is really important is that we have really secured our energy needs for the next several years. We purchased over the last 4 years, we've purchased 2 substations from Wheatland Electric. And so we now have a direct connection to Sunflower. And what that does is that has saved our community so much money over the next several years, but over into the future, we have really secured our energy needs for that. I think, it was a wise decision, of course, by Empirical Foods to locate here. It is one of the most incredible opportunities, second only to the DFA, the Dairy Farmers of America plant. But, the Empirical Foods plant locating here in Garden City, and it was us as a community that brought them. I mean, they had already located, they were going to make a decision to locate somewhere else, but I'll tell you, it's we as a community that sold ourselves. The last thing I want to highlight, there's the one thing I'm really excited about. We had a shovel-ready project in our Garden City Regional Airport. We had no idea when this would come about, when this would ever happen. And I'm going to tell you, COVID happened, lots of other things, and then $19 million was awarded to Garden City, and we were ready for it.
Okay, thank you. Commissioner Ortiz.
Thanks. Yeah, so just to kind of bounce off of the other 2 commissioners here, I agree with everything. There's been a lot that's been accomplished while we've been on the seat. A lot of that I can't take credit for. I don't think we all as a team can take credit for. It's been done throughout past commissioners and mayors, and the staff that the city has on hand now, they do a wonderful job. I believe that all of the congratulations goes to like a lot of those pre-candidates that have been seated up here before us. But in the process, with just the short 2 years that we've been here, I do feel like we were able to just go ahead and continue their vision and bring that to fruition for our citizens here in Garden City. So kudos to those folks who just played ball and did have those opportunities with shovel-ready projects like the airport. So wonderful projects, Garden Rapids at the pool. There is some pushback, and those are some of the things that we up here, we serve the people, and we bring their concerns to the table, and we actually have, to decide for them and with them and kind of go through all of that. So I feel humbled for the amount of people that actually were able to help me get to this point, to get me on the seat, to actually help, get their voice heard. So thank you for that.
Okay, well, thank you. Next question. As a commissioner, how would you evaluate which projects are worth pursuing and/or implementing? That's a question. We'll first go to Commissioner Unruh.
One thing I love about our city is, our city staff does an incredible job of making sure that if we're going to take on a project, that project has some type of funding source. The airport project, for an example, we received $19 million. We've been able to have additional $5 million that we have in local funds. But, there was that shortfall. It's going to be around $31 million. But, we have found a way through passing GEO bonds and general obligation bonds with saying that our city is so financially sound, we got a rate less than 1%. Now, when does that ever happen? But that just tells you what an incredible financial shape we are in as a city. Melinda Hitz just retired as our long-term financial director, but I'll tell you, the thing that's really exciting about what happens here is that we do not do projects that we cannot fund. We make sure that that our staff makes sure that everything is ready. We really do a lot of the upfront work of planning. It's not ready. It's ready, aim, fire. It's not fire, fire, aim. So I think that's what's been really exciting about seeing the projects that we've really chosen to do. One of the things I think that we held off for many years, I love 8th Street, and so it's it's a street that I can hardly wait till it's done. But, that was a project that took us several years in getting it right. And so, the projects like 8th Street and then the purchase of the 2 substations, until we get those things, till we really know what we're doing, we as a commission and we as a community don't step out. But as our other 2 commissioners said, it's really us as a community that do these things. It's not we as a commission. We are just part of that solution.
Okay, thank you. This question next up will be to Commissioner Ortiz.
Can you repeat the question?
Yeah. As a commissioner, how would you evaluate which projects are worth pursuing and/or implementing?
Well, that's a trick question, isn't it? Because what are we looking for in the future? I guess that's the big question. And I excuse me. I think there is a lot of projects that just like Commissioner Unruh had said, we've valued and we've put input. We've gathered the data and we've looked at the dollars, and we don't just say, okay, well, this is a project and we don't, we have X amount of dollars but we don't have enough, but we're just going to go ahead and push it. That thing, we trust our finance department, we trust our city with looking at things like that. So, but there are some other projects that are on the table that probably are going to be looked at hard. Infrastructure, that plays a big role in some of these big projects that are coming up as well. So looking at these projects, we have to look at the whole. We can't, buildings are pretty and it makes our city beautiful, but the underground infrastructure where people don't see, we don't have enough power, we don't have enough water for some of these developments. So looking past that and into the future, we've got to actually have a plan in place, and that's what we kind of set ourselves up for. Is we look at that infrastructure, we look at the growth of Garden City, we see where we can expand and what's the most cost-effective way we can do that. Tough issues, tough questions to answer, but those are the things what we rely on with our city and departments here. So it's tough.
Okay, thank you. Commissioner Euler.
So, excuse me. I think a lot of times it comes back to looking at, we look at what our strategic goals are. We set those in February, just where do we want to move the city, going forward. And I know that when a city staff or when they bring a project to us, they've really thought through it. And I know having the CIP process, which, is a great way for the community to have input into some of those projects. And a lot of times, when you go through that process and you see the voting and you see how they come out, and then you kind of balance that with, where we're moving as a city and does that fit into where we're headed. But I think that our city staff does a great job of also helping to guide us through that process as well. when they come to a project, like Commissioner Unruh mentioned with the airport being shovel-ready, I mean, that was one that, the city staff and the commission had worked on forever with, Senator Moran and making sure that, that was an important project to, put forth. And so, when you think about all of the pieces that have to go into that, you have to kind of balance, does it fit into our goals? Does it fit into moving our city forward? Is this something that we can afford? Do we do it with short-term financing or bond it out, over 15 or 20 years? I mean, I think it's looking at all of those things, and then, when a project is put forth to us, we've really thought through the implementation of it. Can we make it work? And I think, looking at all the things we've done, I think we've done that.
Okay, thank you. Okay, our next question. What are your views about the city's financial management practices? And this question will go to you, Commissioner Ortiz first.
Yeah, I mean, Melinda Hitz did an awesome job when she was here, and it was kind of sad to see her go. And that came out of the blue, but I believe like we've been able to put in place a plan that offers some great financial services, just like Commissioner Unruh said before, when we get great rates. I mean, when we build or when we expand, some of these, it's just like a credit card. You gotta kind of spend some money to get credit. And with the city, it's a much bigger process, but credit scores is a big, it's a big financial gain for us here at the city. So, yeah, you gotta, sometimes, citizens, we don't really understand, we're going too far into debt, but a lot of times we gotta realize we gotta spend money to actually get a better interest rate so that we can actually have those amenities for the public. You gotta look at parks and some of these, like the swimming pool, the Grand Rapids, it's such a low price. I mean, we could have stuck a bigger sticker on there to help finance, some other projects. But we look at all this, and we have Melinda, people like Melinda and people at the city that actually look at these finances and help guide us with those decisions to make those affordable for us here in Garden City. So.
Okay, thank you. Commissioner Euler.
I'm very proud of our city finances. I mean, I think the way that our finance department has done things over the years is just to be impressed. I mean, the fact that, we have a comprehensive annual financial report done and have received awards for the past 25 years. I mean, I think that shows that not only are we thinking about things in the short term, but also in the long term, and how, Moody's has rated us, what is it, a AAA3 bond rating? I mean, that's the best that we can possibly get. And when we were looking at the interest rates for that $8 million bond, I mean, it was 0.98% interest. I mean, you only get that because you have a lot, you have a good reserve. And, when there are things like, during that cold weather incident, when the city did have to declare a financial emergency, I mean, that was because, we had to use our reserves in order to help pay for, the $10 million for the electricity or for the gas for the week. And so, I mean, it's things like that, looking at everything, coming to the commission, letting them know where we are financially, declaring that emergency, but then we were also able to declare it over, quickly as well. And I think just because we have those reserves, we have that good rating for Moody's, I know that I feel very, very positive about the city's financial position.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, could you repeat the question?
Sure, yes, be happy to. What are your views about the city's financial management practices?
Well, both the commissioners have talked about the excellence of our finance department, and I think that's going to continue on into the future. But again, that excellence has started many, many years ago. We have been able to keep the mill levy steady over the past 10 years. Now, I know for the past 4 years, that's been part of my responsibility to make sure that we really make it affordable for our residents. But the thing I think is really important is this idea that, we make a plan and we stick to it. We don't overspend. We have more than adequate reserves. Commissioner Euler talked about the February storm, which February seems so long ago. But you think about in 14 days, we spent $11 million in electricity and gas. But our city was ready. There was not one of our residents that went without either. So the heat was on and electricity was on, and we had a plan. And even though it was the first test of a financial emergency we'd ever had, we came through it with flying colors. And I'll tell you, the thing that was really exciting is that we were able to help other communities around us. You know, we as Garden City, we serve as a hub for many different smaller cities around us. And our expertise in these areas of finance, Melinda Hitz and our finance department, they speak all over the state of Kansas, and they help other communities understand what we're doing right. So, you know, I have a lot of confidence not only in that we are making a plan and sticking to it, but really that we are conservative in the sense that we really want to make sure that we don't overspend and overtax and make it so our residents cannot afford to live here.
Okay. Okay, next question. What do you see as the most pressing need for infrastructure or capital projects in Garden City? This question is first going to go to Commissioner Euler.
You said for infrastructure and,
Or capital
Capital needs.
projects.
well, I think our most pressing needs, infrastructure-wise, is just, you know, making sure that on the water and electricity that we can handle the load that we'll have from all of the RHIDs that we have issued over or districts that we've issued over the past couple of years. I know that certainly does weigh on wastewater and water and gas and electricity, and so making sure that we're in a position to be able to afford that expansion, you know, making sure that Empirical Foods has what it needs. And I think that we've done a really, really good job of having that plan ahead of time, making sure that when, you know, the plans for expanding Empirical, that there was a plan, and we just, you know, ordered a $700,000 transformer to help with the load on the electrical panel. And so making sure that we're ready and poised so that we can continue growing, we continue being that regional hub. And then, of course, not also forgetting about the fact that when we're planning all of these housing districts, that we do have adequate green space and we do have places for young families and for kids and just that recreation aspect as well. So.
Okay, thank you. Commissioner Unruh.
I'm sorry, you have to repeat the question. I was listening to Commissioner Euler's response. So
No problem. What do you see as the most pressing need for infrastructure or capital projects in Garden City?
So I think that one of the things that we talk about every year, and I think it's been talked about for as long as, for at least the last 8 years, is our need for housing. And so, you know, making sure that we have the infrastructure for housing developments and housing to actually go into our community. So, I mean, that includes a lot of, as Commissioner Ortiz talked about, there's a lot of things that are underground that we don't see, but they're very important, including sewer and the electricity and water. And so really, I think the most pressing need is to make sure that we have adequate, that we have those infrastructures so that we can, as we have construction for housing, that we have that ready to go. Because we're getting ready to add on some tremendous amount of jobs. And without housing, really, we're not going to be able to bring any other people into our community. I think the other things I think is, you know, we as a community really understand that we are connected to a lot of other communities. We were today on the Kansas Department of Transportation. We were meeting with them on their local consult meeting. You know, I'll tell you, the other thing is making sure that we have highways that connect us to other highways. The things that we produce, if we can't move that out to other places, then really we become really stuck here. And so I think, you know, making sure that we advocate for those kind of resources and making sure that, again, we've already provided for our long-term energy needs. Now it's really making sure that we secure our water needs. And water is going to become very important here in the very near future. It's already important, but in Western Kansas, I think that is going to highlight it to a higher level.
Okay, thank you. Commissioner Ortiz.
This one's really tough because in my mind, your idea is a lot different than what people talk about to me on a daily basis or a monthly basis, however you want to say. But I think the most pressing that we get, that we hear from the community is housing and daycare. And those are the two main capital or improved projects that are on the table now. And the city's working towards figuring out the plan to actually make those happen. Working with the Finney County Economic Development Corporation, with them on developing areas around Garden City. And yeah, that ties back into some of the great staff that we have on board with departments like Mike, who deals with electric all the time. I mean, Mike's a genius when it comes to electric on building infrastructure for power and need for growth in the city of Garden City. It's the same thing we got to look at with water, and sewer and, just everything else that you don't see above ground. So housing and daycare are one of the top. Like I said, it's different than what I would probably imagine Garden City wanting or needing, but when we are up here, we are for the people and we hear their voice, and so that's something that we focus on to get that moving in the right direction to make it happen. And a need now for childcare is probably one of the top things that we need to get moving.
Okay, thank you. Okay, our next question. What do you see as the city of Garden City's role in improving the health of the people in Garden City? This question's first going to go to you, Commissioner Unruh.
Oh, this is one of my favorite questions. I'll tell you, I am a huge advocate of healthy eating and active living. We have some of the absolute best parks in all of Western Kansas. I love, they become even more important to me. I mean, I love walking my dog. I love running. I love running the parks. I think our park and trail system, along with sidewalks, they sound simple, but they really connect you as a community. So, we have just recently made a big investment in a new park called Southeast Community Park. But there are other things happening all over the city when you talk about our parks and our trail system. If you've not been on Tally Trail or Pioneer Trail, or if you've not been able to walk through the cemetery, which is at this time of the year is absolutely beautiful, and it's a really great place to reflect, I'm going to tell you, we as a community are doing things to make sure that we have outdoor recreation that's available. We also have an incredible water recreation facility. You might have heard of it at Garden Rapids at the big pool. But, it's an awesome place to do that. We also have our local Garden City Recreation Commission, which is now part of the city, and also our local YMCA. So we as a city understand how important that not only is exercise, but also that we're willing to put dollars into exercise, dollars into those things that really matter to families. One of my favorite things when I worked as a lifeguard at the big pool was watching families come and play and have fun together. And so I'll tell you, now I didn't lifeguard this year, but I'll tell you, those are the things I miss. I love watching families do things together. Our parks are built so that families can live life together.
Okay, thank you. Next up, Commissioner Ortiz.
And just to kind of continue on, and there's a balance there too with neighborhood and development, services here. They do an awesome job with trying to balance that out with, with new development housing going in. We got to actually have some parks for these families to kind of play in and around. So, I think this city, I haven't lived anywhere else, so I was trying to combine, make that combination with another city. But, it's just wonderful living here in Garden City. I grew up here, I was born here, and I went to school in Manhattan. I'd come back, and it's just a wonderful place to actually grow up with family. And that's kind of what they look forward to. That's kind of what we strive on, is family-friendly city, so that we can actually go out and have a healthy life and exercise and just walk the beautiful parks that we have and that are coming. So right now we have a comprehensive plan for the Garden City Rec Department, Recs and Parks, that is going to be coming out, I think, late November, December. I could be off. Like I said, I'm not good with dates, so I don't even know when the football game is for the Hatchet game. So, anyways, just getting to that point with, a great park system, a great atmosphere for Garden City. That's just something that we strive on, and I think you might hear us after every commission meeting that, hey, go out and enjoy the day. Go out and walk. Go out and enjoy Garden City. So,
okay, thank you. Commissioner Euler.
Well, I mean, really, Parks and Rec is a great way in order to improve the health in our city. And it's by doing things like, making sure that our sidewalks are safe, making sure that, we're replacing the pieces of the sidewalk that have lifted up because of tree roots or just are crumbling, and making sure that sidewalks are connected, because there are a lot of people that don't have a vehicle and don't have the ability to, drive from point A to point B. And so making sure that our city is walking friendly, I think is very, very important. Making sure that, when we're doing those housing developments, as I said, not forgetting about the green spaces and not forgetting about those areas where families can be together, because I do love that. It's fun for me to see families walking down Tally Trail, doing things together, being out doing, throwing the ball on the ball field. I mean, all kinds of things like that. But then also thinking about it from a mental health perspective too, because that's also very important. And I know that Livewell has done a lot of training with our police departments and making sure that, they have that mental health training as well, because, improving health is both, mind, body, and spirit. And so making sure that we've got all of those bases covered are so very important. And I think that, definitely, doing those things helps.
Okay, thank you. Okay, our next question, we're going to start with you, Commissioner Ortiz. What is the city's role for encouraging or providing housing?
I think getting some of those players involved is a major role. We've got to actually work with some developers and making sure that we all understand, the bylaws and the ordinances and the city's requirements to get these properly built. There is a wrong way, and we don't want our city to be going in the wrong direction with narrow streets and houses built over the encroaching property lines and things like that. So, I think getting those developers involved up front is a major plan and role that we have as a city to actually engage that process, so we don't find ourselves backtracking in a lot of that area. So, working, with not developers. I mean, you even got homeowners who maybe if they want to put up a fence that they may be putting it on the other person's property. So our neighborhood and development services is I think they're top notch. And with my background in architecture, I feel like every time I go up and ask questions or engage with another project that we have maybe similar about, they share that information with us having to abide by those ordinances and those laws that the city has put in place, so that we don't have to pay penalties and things like that. So. I think our city is wonderful in doing that job well.
Okay. Commissioner Euler.
Well, I think that over the past couple of years that I've been on the commission, I know that we have voted on and approved quite a few RHIDs, and making sure that we have the tax incentives in place so that developers can build houses. I mean, when you look at Chapel Heights and you see, all of the different phases, and then you see every time you turn around, there's like a new neighborhood, and I think it's great. When you're driving down 3rd Street right now, I get really excited when I see the houses being built, on that east side, and, just all of the different developments that we have going on. I think anything that we can do to help encourage that helps. I mean, whether it be through, offering incentives, working with our economic development council, working together with city staff, and as Commissioner Ortiz said, neighborhood and development services, they really do help you through the process. And I know that with everything that we have going on, you can certainly look at some of the plots and some of the things, but then when you think about how do we we have to build, a new house every 3 days, in order to keep up with demand. I mean, it's just crazy when you think about that. And it isn't just building houses, it's mixed-use houses, making sure we have apartments, and then making sure it's affordable, so that families that move here can afford to live here, and that's a big piece as well. And so I think that it's really all of us sort of working together to do that.
Okay. Commissioner Unruh.
Yeah, can you repeat the question again?
Sure. What is the city's role in encouraging or providing housing?
Well, I think the important thing about Commissioner Euler talked about the Rural Housing Incentive District is, that's something that we've been taking advantage of for many years. And I think we've done a really good job of that. And there's many districts that are open and now available, but it's, again, part of that is getting the infrastructure in place and then encouraging builders and contractors to come and say, hey, we want to make Garden City a place where we're going to build. The thing, we talked about this at one of our planning commission meetings, and really we're going to have to do some out of the box thinking, and it might be we might need to step out inside and think about what does it look like if we become to help others, what other incentives can we offer, and then do we need to become part of that building structure. I think we've really done a top to bottom look at our ordinances and all the building guidelines, and making sure that we are not being a hindrance, but more of a help. And I do believe that our neighborhood development services is really streamlined. They're really trying to do their best job they can for contractors and for people who are making changes. So I think it's really all of us pulling together, but we really do need to do some out-of-the-box thinking. And so that might really try some things that we have never tried before. I think, within a reasonable amount of risk. We've done as much as we can with the tools that have been made available to us. And what other tools are available, or what other tools that other communities are doing that are really building that housing stock. Because I think it's not only affordable, but it's also available housing. And so, it's great if it's affordable, but if it's not available, so what do we do next? But I think it's going to take some out-of-the-box thinking.
Okay, our next question, we're going to start with you, Commissioner Euler. Are there services the city provides that you believe should be eliminated? And are there services the city does not provide that you believe should be added?
That's a tough one. Services that should be eliminated. And then what was the other parts?
Services that the city does not provide that you believe should be added.
Gosh. Okay, was not prepared for that question. But as far as services, I'm just going to go right to that we don't provide. Thinking about how does it?
It's a tough question.
That is a tough question.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's a good question too. One to make us think. I think, in thinking through, things like mental health services, more of a focus on that. I think with the police department, just being cognizant of the fact that when you come upon a situation, there could be some language barriers, there could be some, other issues, mental health issues that are impeding that process. And so, maybe working with the departments to help provide some more of those services would be something that we aren't, we're providing it, but maybe a little bit more training. And as far as eliminating, I honestly, I'm sure once they talk, I'll think, and I'll just nod my head in agreement, but that's a hard one to think about.
Okay, well, thank you. Commissioner Unruh.
I was hoping Commissioner Euler was going to go next, or Commissioner Ortiz was going to go next. So,
I know, right?
As far as eliminated, that's really, I think that's the one that's kind of sticking for me. Is that I don't really see. I think a lot of our services are very essential. So, so I want to move on to the one talking about added. One of the things I think I would love for us to be able to do is to have the ability to build our own streets. Right now we contract streets out and it takes a long time, and street repair is big in Garden City. We live in a climate that is hot in the summer and cold in the winter, and I'll tell you, it does a number on our streets. So, and potholes, if you've never been a part of pothole discussions, we actually have a map that marks potholes. And so, if we had the ability to build our own streets and do some of that repair, we could actually do more trails than we've ever done before. And so if we were going to add something, I think that was something I would love to see added. The other thing I'd like to see, maybe not added, but maybe combined, a lot of communities have a combined fire and EMS. We are one of the few communities that have that separated. EMS is the county service, and then fire is a city service. But something that happened today, which I love it when the county and the city work together. It doesn't happen often enough. But I think that's really neat is that the fire department is now going to be helping to support EMS by getting some EMT training. And so I'm really excited about that opportunity. I'm expecting it to turn out really well. So as far as eliminating, I'll tell you, recycling is something that I don't want to eliminate it, but it's something that costs so much money and it really doesn't see a benefit. But that's the only thing I could think of that if we would eliminate something to save money.
Okay, thank you. Commissioner Ortiz.
Can I get 10 seconds of silence? It is tough. You can drop the program like where city picks up trash all over town, but that might cause issues with, the beautification that we have here. Does it cost money? Yeah, it costs the city money, but it's free to everybody that wants to throw their trash and keep their yards looking great and houses. There's always things that you can probably drop, but I don't know if that's a good idea. So thinking of something to drop, it's tough. Because we try to provide for everybody. We try to provide those services to help us here live comfortably and healthy. So we are looking at some things that are put in place as far as like sidewalk repairs. We do have some funds that are coming in to help repair that. And there's going to be a map that's going to be put out here soon that shows all those sidewalks that are going to connect. And we're going to see a lot of beautification happening here in Garden City soon. So probably not over the winter time, but so it'll probably be next year. So services that we can actually think of that we can bring to the table from the city's point, I think it's already on the table. It just hasn't been presented yet. And you'll probably see that within the next year or two that we have for planning. So.
Okay, thank you. Okay, our next question. What is your assessment of the city's response to the COVID-19 pandemic? And this question is going to start with you, Commissioner Unruh.
In 2020, I was voted as mayor by my fellow commissioners, and it was an honor. And I had a lot of plans for 2020, and then the pandemic hit. But I'll tell you something that I love the way our community pulled together. I learned so many lessons through COVID-19 and the pandemic that, and I'm not going to repeat them here because I only have 90 seconds. But the thing that was really exciting was to see how people took care of other people. And this is a community that looks out for its own. We had local experts who really stepped up. The hospital and the local healthcare professionals who stepped up and really overdid everything, but really kept us informed. Our health department, we had so many notifications and about what was going on and what we needed to do. We made decisions with the best information that we had. Were those decisions easy? No, they weren't. But this was something new. No one really knew how to handle that. So we erred on the side of caution, making sure that we were going to protect our citizens. I'm so grateful that the vaccine is something that is something that's available and readily available. I heard today that we are the highest county in the state with the number of people vaccinated. And I'll tell you, as we go on through this pandemic, COVID-19 is not going away, and there will be something different. But the one thing I have a lot of that I'm fully confident is that our people are going to take care of our people. We are going to look out for one another, and we're going to make sure that we work together to make it best for everyone here.
Okay, thank you. Commissioner Ortiz.
It was a tough year, and we made some tough decisions. I think we heard everybody that had submitted emails and phone calls and texts and everything else. So it was new. We didn't know nobody knew how to handle it. We kind of tried to stay up here and keep everyone calm and try not to create chaos and disorganization. Those who wanted to put the statutes and whatever in place did, and those who wanted to abide did, and those who didn't. I believe that we did our best to give people a choice, and that choice was theirs to be honored. And I think it still kind of goes on today. So you choose to do what you want to do, and I think that's what's great is we can do that in a professional manner and not get so upset about it and not create that chaos. So as it's done in other communities and states. So I feel this is a great area. We've got a bunch of great churches that are supportive. We've got hospitals that are supportive. We've got just a number of professionals that are understanding, and you're able to get that information to, I guess, to help satisfy your need, so your decision. And I agree. As mayor, that was something tough that you had to go through, but we appreciate everything you did for that time.
Okay, thank you. Commissioner Euler.
I'm very proud of the city's response during the COVID-19 pandemic. I think that, as both commissioners have said, it was a tough decision. We heard 6 hours total of public testimony, which was fantastic. It was amazing. Hundreds upon hundreds of emails and phone calls and people stopping you in the stores and giving you your opinion on the face covering mandates, and it was tough. To be put in a position to make a decision like that, knowing that here we are during a public pandemic, public, health emergency, and listening to the data. And I think that the city was very responsive and very respectful of everybody because, we had, that 6 hours. I mean, you had people on both sides. I mean, I was looking through my notes the other day of just who was here, and it was amazing we could make that decision. But I think that this was one of those instances where the commission really did reflect the community in that, there was never a unanimous decision on the face covering mandate, whether it was 3-2 or 4-1. We really took that public input into perspective, and we really thought about it. And so I think that we did a really, really good job of making that tough decision. But then not only that, but then, when it came time for the face covering mandate to be ended, we did that too. So I'm happy with it.
Okay, thank you. Okay, our next question. As a commissioner, what would you support to promote sustainable economic growth as well as job creation and workforce retention in Garden City? This question's first going to go to you, Commissioner Ortiz.
Say the question again.
Sure. As a commissioner, what would you support to promote sustainable economic growth as well as job creation and workforce retention in Garden City?
There's kind of a balance there, I think, with with the growth with housing. We do need housing to to help support our families who are going to be moved in with some of these larger companies that are looking at Garden City. So we've got to be supportive with the Benton County Economic Development Corporation, with their stakeholders that are coming to the table to offer that opportunity to Garden City. So I support both sides of that with the extent that we have to be ready, and I believe we are as a city, for infrastructure, for growth here in Garden City. So the funds, those will come as we, we have a great system in place that helps engage that process to allow us to fund those projects when those come available. So project ready or shovel ready projects, those are the things that we kind of like to set up for the future. So planning comes into place with a lot of that too. So, but I think supporting businesses, new businesses, and even existing businesses to help either beautify or remodel their existing buildings so that they can attract more foot traffic into their business. So I think supporting our community locally as well as newcomers and new business opportunities is probably one for me.
Okay, thank you. Commissioner Euler.
I think as far as job creation and workforce retention, the biggest piece of it comes down to education and really growing our own workforce and making sure that at high school, that students in high school know what their options are. I mean, not everybody is able to go to a four-year university, or not everybody wants to. Just making sure that they know what jobs are out there. I think, I think about Empirical Foods and the scholarship program that they have to make sure that students not only are trained, but they get money to be able to be in school and then to work. I just think that that's so very important, is, starting when they're young and making sure that they, kind of know that they have a career path. And, that income is just, I mean, you just can't, I just can't stress that enough. And as far as, the job creation goes, just making sure that, that we have adequate daycare so that when people do come here to work, that they have a place for their children to go. And that's so very important as well. And I know that that's something that we're working on, with 1,000+ daycare spots that we need to fill. It's becoming kind of a crisis. And so the best way that you can retain that workforce is to make sure that they have a place for their children to go, make sure that they have a place to move into when they move here. And so I think all of those things.
Okay, thank you. Commissioner Unruh.
Okay, I'm sorry. That was a very complicated question. Can you read it again? Just
Yes.
so I know it seems really long when you read it. So.
Yeah, okay. As a commissioner, what would you support to promote sustainable economic growth as well as job creation and workforce retention in Garden City.
So I want to talk about job development growth first, and thinking about, we really need to continue working with our partners. So a lot of these things have not happened in a vacuum. It's not just been the city bringing people here. It's been the city, the county, the school system, the school district, USD 457, and also Garden City Community College. So, continuing those partnerships, realizing that sometimes when we offer incentives that they give up part of their tax base. And also knowing that not every company that comes to Garden City or wants to come to Garden City might be a fit for us. And so really being wise about the choices and helping them be wise about, does it really work for us? And so as we grow, making sure that we're providing for places to live, childcare, making sure that there are those things in place so that when they come here, they have some place that they can actually go. I think workforce retention is really important. It's important to me. I mean, I have 4 kids who are now, they're not here. One's here. We're trying to keep him here. But, the others are, and so I want to make sure that Garden City is a place where people want to come back to. So I think, people work 8 to 12 hours a day, but that's not all they do. But if we don't have a place for them to play or for them to do recreation or for them to go out to eat, for them to spend time together, I'll tell you, you can spend so much time building up all of these different businesses, and then people have nothing to do, and work can't be the only thing they do. So I think workforce retention and education is a really important part of that. Having our local community college who is invested in the community, we truly have what's called a community college. We have a lot of really neat opportunities, which is very exciting at the community college. I used to do a woodworking class, loved it. So there's lots of really great things that we have with our community college.
Okay, thank you. Okay, this is our final question for this evening.
Whoa.
Went fast, didn't it?
Really?
Can you make it easy?
That last one was like, no additions or elimination stuff this time. That's not fair.
Okay, what do you feel are the best ways to involve residents in the commission's decision-making process? And we're going to start this last question off with you, Commissioner Euler.
Best ways to involve the community in our decisions?
To involve residents in the commission's decision-making process.
Okay. Well, for one of the things that I'm a huge advocate of is making sure that people just, the first thing is just tuning into to our Facebook page. I mean, the city does an amazing job on social media with letting residents know what's going on as far as, like, right now, job openings, RFPs that are out there, advisory committees, the comprehensive plan. I mean, it's just a great place, but not everybody has access to social media. And so making sure that we meet people where they are and communicate to the different populations that we have, make sure that we let people know what's going on. But then getting involved in an advisory council is also a great way to know what's going on. That CIP process, you really get a chance to know what projects are in the pipeline, what kind of things you'd like to promote, what kind of things you'd like to see, going forward. I think those are all ways. And of course, the biggest one is come to a commission meeting. We have that public comment period for a reason where people can come and they can bring their ideas. But then we also, when there's a 5th Tuesday in the month, we have the town halls. And so making sure that people come to those town halls, because sometimes our meetings are 5 minutes long. And so it's awesome. They're at 7 o'clock in the evening, and it's just a great way, for people to know and to be involved and just to get to know us too.
Okay, thank you. Commissioner Unruh.
So I want to mention, we have a very robust advisory committee system in place in our city, and I'll tell you, the advisory committees give a lot of input, and what they say really matters to us as commissioners. It matters to our staff. So I would say, one of the things when I was mayor, I really wanted to bolster and make sure and really highlight was that advisory committees, that they're available. Also, anytime that there is an opportunity to give input, the Garden Rapids of the Big Pool had a huge opportunity to give input. The comprehensive plan, our master parks and recs plan that's coming out. All of these are opportunities to give input. And, we don't have all the answers, but if you have a way that we need to reach people, please let us know. Let our staff know, because I'll tell you, we really want to make sure and include what the city wants. Commissioner Euler talked about our Facebook page. I find out more on our Facebook page than I find out sometimes at the commission meetings. So I really appreciate, all the ways that they're reaching out. But I'll tell you, it is, so one thing I want to make sure and help them understand, it is your responsibility also to be involved in your city. This is your city. This is not the 5 commissioners who serve on the city commission city. This is your city. So we would love to have you at a city commission meeting. We appreciate the people who watch. the city commission afterwards, but we would love to have you come and make comment. I love when people call and when they text. I'm really even getting good at Facebook Messenger. I actually don't ignore it anymore. So, we really love input, from our citizens. It's important that you tell us what you want us to hear so that we can make the best decisions for us as a community.
Okay. Commissioner Ortiz.
Okay. Can you repeat the question, please?
Sure. What do you feel are the best ways to involve residents in the city or in the commission's decision-making process?
What are the, say that it,
What do you feel are the best ways to involve residents in the commission's decision-making process?
well, I mean, I've kind of mentioned a few times in city commission, is just to get engaged with any of the, committees that are available here in the city. I think that's, the key thing is communication, and that's going to be a big step for us to get through. Not everybody gets a newspaper, not everybody gets social media, not everybody gets word of mouth. So communicating with everybody is difficult, and that's probably everywhere. And I don't know how to do it. I'm hoping Jamie knows how to do it, but that's something that we gotta, that's something we gotta focus as a committee to help us understand exactly what we want to move forward to. I feel like that's sometimes I feel like I need to go out and knock on doors throughout the community where I've never really even visited yet. So, and just kind of have that opportunity to talk to them and ask them, hey, what do you see Garden City? How do you envision Garden City? What do you see? What's through, how do I see Garden City through your eyes? I wish I had a superpower and that would probably be it, but I don't. It's, those are the type, and these are hard questions. And I know, sometimes it's just trying to get the right answer out for everybody who's asking questions. And that's what's tough. But I feel like we do our best and we get the information and we try to answer those as best we can.
Okay, well, thank you. That concludes our question and answer part of the program for tonight. So we appreciate your willingness and time to be a part of the event tonight. So at this time, we're going to go into 1-minute closing statements. So with that, we're going to start with you, Commissioner Ortiz.
I'm glad, because that last question, I didn't want everybody to kind of use that for the last closing. I'm kidding. People know me as just off the cuff. I don't write anything down. I don't prepare anything. Obviously, I wasn't prepared for this, but hey, that's who I am. I like to just be real and have that conversation with people who understand me and get me. That's just the person I've always been. That's the person I'm going to be, forever. So, if I just encourage that if you do have a question, I'm available anytime. You can get a hold of me, except after 9 o'clock, my phone. I don't know, my phone goes to sleep at 9 o'clock, and I can't get any phone calls or texts. So before 9 o'clock, before 9 p.m., I'm good. But anyway, I love to talk to people. I love to engage with them and have that opportunity to get to know them, just like they have the opportunity to get to know me. I think that's who I am. So I appreciate that.
Okay, Commissioner Euler.
Well, again, I'd like to thank the Chamber for hosting and for those in the audience. I mean, it's great that you came out to support us, and also for those who are watching the live stream. As great as Garden City is, and even with all that we've accomplished, there's still some work that we have left to do. And we need to continue strengthening our place as a regional hub and continue being one of the most innovative and forward-thinking first-class cities in Kansas. And we need to ensure that people have affordable places to live, quality daycare for their children, and I promise you that I will continue encouraging and maximizing opportunities to strengthen our economic base and preserve our quality of life, because those are the things that make Garden City a trailblazer amongst the other first-class cities in Kansas. I don't know why I can't say that word. But I'll always work hard. I know that, that's one thing that we do well here is we do listen. And so when you call me, when you text me, when you instant message me even, I like to, make sure that I can get back to you to hear what you have to say too.
Well, I also want to say thank you to the Chamber, Mike and Andy. Andy, thank you for being here, Jamie, and the vast audience and those in the audience. You know, it makes a difference. I also just want to make a reminder really quick. If you've not registered to vote, please do so by October 12th is the last day to register to vote. And it's really important. If you've already registered, you don't need to re-register. But if you're moved, make sure you let them know, update your information. You know, it's still true, signs can't vote, and it is true that your voice does matter. Now more than ever, you know, we're moving into a time when we really need to hear your input. So I'm asking for your vote in November. Please call your friends, let them know to vote, that their voice matters, encourage others to get informed, and then get involved in choosing how we're going to build the city that we live in. You know, Garden City is the best place to live, work, play, worship, and age. Our community is really a gift. Our people are not just the best in the world, but they're the best for the world. You know, we are better together, and we become stronger through challenge, and together we can do anything.
Okay, thank you. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, that concludes our program for tonight. I would please join me in thanking our candidates. Just a reminder to everybody, this forum will be rebroadcast between now and November 2nd on Garden City's Channel 8. And we'd like to thank the city for their assistance. A couple announcements about some other upcoming forums. At 6 o'clock on Monday, October 11th, we'll be hosting the Garden City Community College Board of Trustees candidate forum. And the following evening at 6 o'clock on Tuesday the 12th, we'll be hosting USD 457's Board of Education candidate. So the primary election is set to vote November 2nd, and we're encouraging the citizens of Garden City to vote. So thank you.